Giga Texas has evolved a lot, but it won't get to full operational capability. Kind of came up to a little bit of an issue with the contracted security they had at the time.
Welcome to Future Link Interview with Brad Smith, an interview podcast unlike any other. I can't speak, but that hasn't stopped me from wanting to have deep, meaningful conversations with some of the most interesting and accomplished people I know. So here's how it works. I send my questions in writing. My guest records thoughtful video responses. I ask follow-ups based on what they share. Then I get a talented guy to edit it all together into a seamless conversation that feels natural and flowing, even though the process behind the scenes is delightfully non-linear. Today I'm joined by Joe Tegtmeyer. Joe is a retired United States Air Force pilot, certified flight instructor, and the man who has been documenting the construction and evolution of Tesla's Giga Texas, with incredible drone footage since day one. He also runs Joe's Last Chance Garage and covers SpaceX and Starbase. Joe, thank you so much for joining me. Let's start with something fun.
Well, hey Brad, thank you very much for having me on your channel. I think it's pretty cool what you're doing, and I'm just very honored that you would ask me to be on. And I know you have a lot of questions, so we'll go ahead and get into it. But I just want to let you know that you're kind of an inspiration, not only to me, but for a lot of other people out there. And I just wish you the best and continue with what you're doing. So let's go ahead and get into the questions.
Introduce yourself and tell us about your superhero origin story.
I guess it all starts way back when I was a kid. I got very interested into space and technology. Being an astronaut is something that I wanted to do all of my life. And when I got into high school, I started studying a lot of math and physics, and I really wanted to be an astrophysicist and then use that at some point to become an astronaut. And most of what I wanted to do is actually fly the whatever the spacecraft was, but I wanted to be able to get those skills and those backgrounds. Also some things that I was really interested in, and maybe put it all together. And that was sort of my goal and what I was looking forward to doing. And I had a chance encounter with several mentors, one of which was Frank Borman, who was an astronaut in the Apollo days, Apollo 8, and one of the first to go around the moon. And he talked to me a little bit about what I wanted to do, and he gave me kind of some ideas, kind of some tips, maybe some things to try to pursue. And that led me into going to the United States Air Force Academy, and I studied astronautical engineering there. Kind of a funny side story is I originally thought that that was the same as astrophysics, which is what I was really interested in high school. Found out that was a little bit different. It was more about orbits and orbital mechanics rather than it was studies of stars and the physics of the universe, but it worked out pretty well for me. I got interested in flying there. I became a soaring or a glider pilot instructor while I was at the academy. Ended up graduating in the class of 1988, and then went off to a pilot training. And from there I got a chance to also go to the Ohio State University and something called the Air Force Institute of Technology program, where I got a double master's in aeronautical and astronautical engineering. Of course, all of that with my degree from the academy, the flying experience, getting my wings, that was all really intended to become an astronaut. And also just my study of technology, and that's kind of brought me to where I am today. I did have a full Air Force career, about 27 years or so, but now in another career, I've kind of joined the YouTube ranks, and I got a chance to cover all kinds of subjects. Tesla is one of them, and of course down at SpaceX, and a lot of other topics that kind of fit into that SpaceX, space and technology realm, of which I've always been pretty interested in.
That's such a cool origin story, Joe. I love how your childhood dream of space and becoming an astronaut eventually brought you right here, documenting the future of manufacturing and space tech from the air. It really does feel like a superhero origin arc. You're a retired United States Air Force pilot and certified flight instructor. How did that background lead you to become the premier drone documentarian of Giga Texas?
As I mentioned, I did graduate from the Air Force Academy. I got my wings. I went to the Euro-NATO Joint Jet Pilot Training at Shepherd Air Force Base in Wichita Falls, Texas. And this is where we kind of bring all of the NATO countries together. We all train and learn how to fly aircraft and kind of get that, I don't know, that cross-pollination across all of the different NATO countries. And that was really a great experience for me. And of course, with my wings, I went off and I did an Air Force career. As I mentioned, I was primarily a KC-135 pilot, and I did that for most of my career, although I did get a chance to fly a lot of T-37s, T-38s, T-1, and when I was up at Altus Air Force Base, I was commander of a squadron, and I got a chance to fly in C-17s for a little bit while I was there as well. So kind of a broad-based history. And your question is, you know, I am a certified flight instructor with my flight background. How did that help me become a drone pilot here at Giga, Texas? And I would say that maybe my experience with flying aircraft, being in the plane, knowing the importance of things like your fuel state, or with drones, what your battery is, what the winds are doing, what the weather conditions are like, kind of operational considerations, things like obstacles. Giga, Texas, we have a lot of really high power lines that kind of go right down the middle of the site, so I have to watch out for that. Early on, we had a lot of cranes, very tall cranes, all over the site, and so it was really important to understand where they were and keep clearance from there. Some of my background also, I think, helped with the early days of flying and at Giga, Texas, because we had several other drone pilots, and also the contractors were using drones, and even Tesla was using drones. So kind of my background with airspace management and planning out how do you deconflict aircraft in a pretty congested airspace, which you see often when you're flying in the military. Kind of brought that together and kind of made a sort of a airspace plan for Giga, Texas, and we also came up with a chat group for all of the various drone pilots, the contractors, and Tesla, so that we could you know, make sure that we're not getting in each other's way, and that was really important at the very beginning. And of course, since then, I've tried to just put my flying background, my knowledge of the FAA, and some of the requirements that go along with flying, and then put that with drones to try to make it as safe as an operation as I possibly can while I'm flying over Giga, Texas, because it is a active construction zone. There's also production that's going on, and don't want to you know, interfere with any of that operation. And I think that my background really helps in that regard.
That makes so much sense. The military discipline around airspace management and safety really shows in how professionally you've handled flying over such a complex, active site for years. I'm sure that background is a big reason Tesla trusts you the way they do. Back in 2020, you received direct permission from Elon Musk himself to fly drones over the Giga, Texas site. What was that interaction like, and how did it shape everything that followed?
You're right. Back when I started in 2020, out in a field that was just basically an old sand and gravel mine, taking photos and then flying drones from the side of the road. It did require a little bit of give and take with Tesla to get that permission. And at that time, we had predominantly 4 of us. We called ourselves the Quad Squad, and we were all flying drones over the factory and kind of documenting the early stages of that construction. And that kind of came up to a little bit of an issue with the contracted security they had at the time at the site, and we had some discussions between us about whether or not we could fly, and then what would the requirements be if we did. And so we reached out to Elon Musk on Twitter at that time, and it was predominantly Jeff Roberts, who was one of the Quad Squads, and myself. And fortunately, we were able to get Elon to respond back to us, and he gave us permission to fly and had us work with the security that was there at the site. Also, eventually, we started working with Tesla themselves to kind of come up with basic rules, things that we could or could not do. Some of the things were, you know, mind the cranes, don't get too close to them, because there was a lot of activity with that. Don't come up on people, don't disrupt the operations, don't show, you know, faces or identifiable parts of people that would rather try to avoid, and just a bunch of other kind of basic rules, like don't fly into the factory, those kinds of things. And from there, it pretty much was smooth sailing. and it's allowed many of us to fly for several years. In my case, I've been flying for coming up almost on 6 years, which is really hard to believe. But all of that early work and the kind of the help by Elon Musk to get it rolling has really helped build a remarkable relationship that continues to this day with Tesla. And I find that just personally just very rewarding and something that I do cherish a lot, and I like to respect with what I'm doing with my drone flying.
Getting a direct yes from Elon back when it was just a sand and gravel pit, that's legendary. And the fact that it turned into a 6-year relationship built on mutual respect is really special. You also run Joe's Last Chance Garage, specializing in Porsches and performance cars. How has your passion for vehicles influenced the way you document Tesla's factories?
Yeah, I do have a shop. It's called Joe's Last Chance Garage. Predominantly has to do with my background and interest in Porsche vehicles. Also, I started off with the Datsun 240Z when I was a teenager, and that's kind of how it all really began. But I got an opportunity after I retired from the Air Force and after I worked at USAA, which is the United Services Automobile Association that is big here in Texas. It serves the military community, and I got a chance to work with kind of the strategic development of that company for a while. But after I did that, I had to go home and take care of my mom back in Tucson, Arizona, and then she eventually passed away. And then after that, I decided, well, you know, what can I do? What should I try to do now for another career? So I decided to formally make my garage, Joe's Last Chance Garage. And I have a really nice shop. It's here on my property, which makes things pretty nice and convenient. And for several years, I was really busy into that. I had a lot of clients. I was helping them find, restore, and maintain a lot of Porsche vehicles. And also I've been doing a lot of other classics. And I think what maybe what I would do here is why don't we kind of go down to my shop, and I'll show you a little bit more about what it looks like, and I'll talk a little bit more about some of the things that I did in the shop. Well, I've come down to my shop. I thought it would be easier for me to just show you around rather than talk about what it's like. But this is where I did a lot of my work with the restoration of Porsches and a lot of other vehicles. Of course, it's a pretty large facility that was fortunately here when I moved in, so I was able to kind of seamlessly make it into my shop. Of course, I have a lift, I have a lot of other equipment around, and as you can tell, some vehicles that are behind me. The one right here is the 240Z that I built when I was a teenager, and I built it for my mom, and she had it for about 20 years before she finally gave it back to me before she passed away. And so it's been a big part of our family for about the last, let's call it 45 years. And it's still looking pretty good, and it still runs really well. And just another kind of part of my history. But what I did a lot here with restoration work was with Porsches. And of course, my shop is called Joe's Last Chance Garage Porsche, and it was started up here probably around 2026 or so, so about 10 years ago. And I did a lot of work here with a lot of different clients. I did that for about 5 years or so, coinciding when I was starting up with Giga, Texas. And then as my YouTube channel continued to grow and the work that I was doing kind of started taking a lot more of my time, the amount of work that I did here was kind of reduced. So now I don't have too many clients. I'm focusing more on what I'm doing with the channel, and also covering a lot of different topics as well. But a couple other things that you can see in here is this vehicle that I'm showing you right now is kind of rare. It's a 1965 Honda S600, and it was a project that I started with my nephew. He actually owns this vehicle, and we started doing the restoration of this. And then I've got the yellow car next to it. This is his wife's. It's an S2000. which is kind of the great grandchild of the S600. The S600 is what Honda began. It was their very first car ever, and most people don't even know that it exists. And of course, the S2000 was kind of paying homage to that few years ago, probably in maybe 2012 or 2013 or so. And they're currently being stored here until they're able to go to their home. And of course, I do have one Porsche Boxster. That's another one that I built for my sister, and it's being stored here right now as well. So there you go. That's a little look around my shop and what it looks like and what I used to do here before I started doing more of my YouTube channel.
I love that you took us down to the shop. It's clear cars have been a lifelong passion for you. That hands-on mechanical background probably gives you an extra eye for what's happening on the factory floor too. Walk us through the evolution of Giga Texas from the initial groundbreaking in 2020 to the massive multi-project campus it is today.
Giga Texas has evolved a lot since the very early days, and for most people who may remember, it was July of 2020 when we got the official word that Tesla was going to be building Giga Texas, and it was going to be in Austin. Now, I live in San Antonio, so I wasn't really familiar with the area up where they said that it was going to be built. So I went up there and I found it. I made a video with a phone, and then eventually got a drone for my, to follow the construction of Giga Texas, and pretty much from there, all the rest is history. As far as what I've seen with Giga Texas, as I mentioned, it has changed a lot. When it first began, the primary focus was to build a factory so that they could begin Model Y production as quickly as possible. And at that time, they were also talking about the Cybertruck was going to be built there. They thought maybe the Semi might be built there and possibly the Model 3. But for the most part, the focus of Giga Texas when it was built was production of vehicles, predominantly the Model Y and the Cybertruck. And the rest was going to, kind of be determined as time went on. And what did I notice about the construction of Giga Texas? A couple of things. One, they had already worked most of the permits to begin the actual clearing of the land right before the formal announcement, and that was really critical to help get the construction going as quickly as possible. This was also around the time, about 6 months later, that Giga Berlin had been announced, and that construction was underway. And of course, Giga Shanghai was breaking all kinds of records as far as construction speed. And I think Tesla really wanted to try to duplicate that at Giga Texas because the company was growing and they really needed to get the Model Y particularly into production. So the focus of Giga Texas at the very beginning was to build basically a large shell of a factory, and within that factory do something called minimum essential capabilities for the Model Ys, which means that they built the sections of the factory that would support the initial production of Model Y first, and that would be the stamping section, which is on the far southeast corner of the factory. That's where they take rolls or coils of steel and aluminum, and they stamp them into the various body parts that are needed for the car. They built the casting machine section, and that's of course using the Idra Giga presses and molten aluminum into dies, and they form big parts of the undercarriage of the vehicles. At first, Model Ys actually had castings for both the front and the rear at Giga Texas, but now they just use the rear only, and they standardize across all the rest of the factories across the company. They also built in something called the body in white, which is where you take the stamped parts and put them together, assemble them, and weld them into the basic body shell. Of course, they needed the paint shop so that they could do the e-coating, which is kind of a corrosion control, and also the paint for the vehicle. They did drive lines so they could build the motors. They had parts of the plastics manufacturing for the exterior and interior parts of the car. And then they also had General Assembly 1, which was just big enough to build and assemble the Model Ys. The rest of the factory at that time was pretty empty. And many viewers may recall back in April of 2022, they had the Cyber Rodeo, which was the grand opening of Giga Texas. And for everybody, they got a chance to go into the factory during that event, and I was fortunate to be able to do so as well. the thing that struck us was just how empty the factory was. I would say that maybe 15% of the factory was actually built out and being used for Model Y production. The rest of the factory at that time was pretty empty. So it was room to grow. And this is also part of something called the agile project management, the agile construction management process that Tesla uses, where they will build initially what they need, and then they will make changes as time goes on. So from that point on, they started configuring for the Cybertruck, but a lot of other decisions were made that changed Giga Texas. There was the move of the headquarters from California to Austin, and that created some changes within the factory, particularly notable on the west side with the west main entrance, which many people will remember changed multiple different times. It would be built and it would be ripped out, and then they would rebuild it and then it would be ripped out. And that's part of that kind of changing focus of the factory. In addition to that, they started talking about pretty early extending the length of the building. And at first, it wasn't completely clear what that was going to be for. It might have been for administration building, maybe to house some of the headquarters, maybe for design studios or something along that nature. But that also changed as Tesla started pivoting into AI. And they built that extension and they created Cortex 1, which is the first AI data center that Tesla has built from the ground up, and it was designed for full self-driving, the training and the testing of that of all the data that they get in, so that the full self-driving can proceed. And in addition to that, of course, they needed to add in a lot more power capability, so they added in a large electrical switch yard to bring in the power. That was enough for a while, and then they've had to double that in size because of the growing embracing of AI. They're now putting in Cortex 2, which is another much larger AI data center that's going to be supporting the Optimus robot. Of course, they're building an Optimus factory now, which is going to be a substantial size or substantial percentage of the size of Giga Texas when it's done. So this is going to be yet another massive factory. They moved a lot of the production end of line operations out of the main factory and across the main highway to what they call the West Support Facility. They did that so they could clean up space within the factory and also streamline the operations so that they could handle Model Ys, Cybertrucks, and now they're even handling the Cybercabs. Speaking of which, since Giga Texas was built, the whole idea of a robotaxi service has been put into motion. We've seen how that's expanding across different cities and across the United States, and a big part of that is the Cybercab. So that production has been added to Giga Texas. If you recall, there was some talk originally that it might be located in Giga, Mexico when that was announced, but with a bunch of decision changes that affected Giga Mexico, Cybercab production was moved to Giga Texas. And more than that, there's now joint ventures with SpaceX, and they have an advanced technology chip fab that is going in on the east side of the factory. And they've also added a battery cathode plant, and that works in conjunction with the lithium plant down at Corpus Christi. And that is to make the basic materials for 4680s, which are the cells, the battery cells that are used in the Cybertruck. They're going to be used in the Cybercab, the Semi, and also the Optimus robot. So it's a pretty big change from an automotive manufacturer to add that. One other major part that they added in was something called the die shop, and that was basically bringing in the capability to do the manufacturing, testing, kind of iterating, repair of the dies that are used in the Giga casting machines. And this is a big opportunity to have added to Giga Texas, because instead of having to ship off all of these really large multi-ton dies via truck to an off-site location for repair or for changes, they can do that right here at Giga Texas. So what I would say is that from July 2020, when they broke ground, to now almost July 2026, 6 years later, Giga Texas has grown, it's changed, its mission has changed, a refocus from just building vehicles to now embracing AI, robotaxi services, and so much more. So it's been an amazing journey to watch all of these changes in just 6 years.
6 years and it's almost unrecognizable. The way you described the factory going from mostly empty at the Cyber Rodeo to this massive AI plus vehicle plus robot ecosystem is exactly why your long-term coverage is so valuable. Giga Texas now has several major construction projects happening at once. Can you break down the 4 key sites you've been highlighting recently and what each one represents?
I kind of mentioned that before, but I'll go over it again on the previous question that you asked. But it is important to understand what is going on here at the main site. Giga Texas is over 2,500 acres, and of that, about 1,000 of those acres, give or take, are under construction or have operating facilities now, like the main factory. And there's 4 big projects that are currently underway, and those are at various stages of completion. The first is Cortex 2, which is a brand new AI data center on the north end in something called the Central Support Campus, which is kind of the middle part of the site. And it includes the crash testing facility and the wade pit, the cathode building, the die shop, and of course Cortex 2. And this facility is very similar, not quite as large as xAI's Colossus AI data center. This is going to have somewhere around 260 megapacks to support the energy requirements for the data center. It has 2 very large cooling systems to make sure that the servers stay at the correct temperature while they are doing all the compute. And of course, all of the rest of the interior systems and data halls that they're building out with all of the various servers and the computers that are needed for the training of the AI systems. And in this case, that's the Optimus robot. So Cortex 2 is predominantly designed to support kind of the brain development, or maybe the Optimus University of the humanoid robot, which Tesla is building out. Now, related to Cortex 2, just to the north is the large 10 million per year run rate, at least what's planned, Optimus factory. This is being built right now. It's about 3 months into construction. Some of the steel superstructure is already taking shape, and they're working on many of the footings, the grade, the slab, and some of the extension to the south to reclaim some of the old sand and gravel mine that used to be here where Giga Texas is. Now, this facility is going to be a substantial percentage of the size of the main Giga Texas factory itself. It'll be close to the length, I'm not sure, maybe 3/4 of the length of the main factory. It'll be a little bit narrower than the width of the main factory, but right now it's looking like there may be 4 floors, certainly 3 floors for production and for maybe internal warehousing, storage, and other equipment. One of them may be to support heating, ventilation, and other systems. But nevertheless, this is going to be a very large facility once it is completed. Of course, it'll be state-of-the-art, and this is additive to what they're doing out at Fremont. As most people know, they stopped the SNX production out at Fremont, and the reason why is that they are building a large pilot line for the Optimus robot. That one is targeting about 1 million per year run rate, and they're going to be starting off with the version 3 of the Optimus robot, probably late summer into the fall or later part of this year is what they are expecting to start initial production out there. To complement that, of course, they need much bigger facility, and that's what's going on here at Giga Texas. This one is about 10 times the size of what the pilot line is out at Fremont. The rate of its construction right now kind of suggests that it'll be ready for initial maybe equipment installation and maybe the beginnings of testing out the equipment to prepare for production sometime maybe by spring or summer of next year, but it won't get to full operational capability until the end of 2027, and then of course moving into 28 is when I expect that to fully come into line. So the Cortex 2 and the Optimus factory are 2 big projects that are linked together as far as one is making the brain of the robot and the other is making the body, and together they'll make the Optimus robot a reality. Another very large construction site that is underway right now is that joint venture with SpaceX, Tesla, and XAI. Of course, now XAI is rolled into SpaceX. This is part one of two parts for building the chips that are going to be needed for a variety of products, including the Optimus robot, many of the vehicles that they're going to be producing or are producing that'll be using autonomy and full self-driving, and probably a lot of other products as well, to include possibly even being used to replace some of the early compute in Cortex 1 or Cortex 2 somewhere down the road when those need to be upgraded. But I mentioned this is part one of two. What they're building at Giga Texas is something called the Advanced Technology Chip Fab. This is where they are going to bring together a lot of the capabilities needed to design, manufacture, test, iterate, and then go back to that loop of design again and to make the next generation of chips. And from what I understand is this is going to be kind of a unique facility that allows them to do all of that under one roof. Once they come up with the chip design that they want to mass produce, that's what the second part is, and that's going to be the large terafab. That's going to be built somewhere off the site of Giga Texas. It's going to be just in a gigantic facility. Giga Texas' main facility right now, as it sits, is about 11 million square feet. And what I've been told and what we've been hearing from Tesla and also SpaceX is that the terafab is going to be about 10 times that size. So there's current talk about it may be a couple hundred miles to the east of Giga Texas in Grimes County. And work is continuing to do the preliminary steps necessary to potentially have it built out there. So although it's not going to be built at Giga Texas, the Advanced Technology Chip Fab, which is being built at Giga Texas, is a big part of this plan. And of course, that plan goes beyond what Tesla wants to do with vehicles and the Optimus robot. It also is going to support one of the big new missions for SpaceX, which is the orbiting AI data centers. And of course, the amount of chips that are going to be used and needed for all of those different products and applications is far and away more than what the current chip manufacturing base around the world actually is. So having that advanced technology chip fab at Giga Texas and then eventually the terafab is really critical for Tesla and SpaceX to be able to meet their requirements for those products.
The fact that one of those projects is basically building the brain and another is building the body of Optimus is wild. You're literally watching the future of robotics being constructed in real time. Cybercab Day has become a highlight in your updates. What does the current state of Cybercab production, testing, and autonomous operations look like from your drone?
Cybercab Day is that's a really great question about cybercabs and what's going on here at Giga Texas. As I mentioned, the product line or production line has been added to the factory. It's pretty much on the east side of Giga Texas, and it's multi-floor. So typical Tesla fashion, they're trying to maximize the space utilization of the factory. So they use the ground level and the several different floors, and they kind of maneuver around with the vertical along with the horizontal to build that new facility or that new production line. It also introduces not only a brand new vehicle, the Cybercab, which is a two-seater purpose-built vehicle with no steering wheel, no pedals, fully autonomous, which itself is pretty remarkable and revolutionary, but the production process is also equally revolutionary. They're using something called the unbox process, which kind of, you think about a car as Lego parts, and you take the car into 5 main pieces and you assemble them separately. So it makes it a lot easier, and it's also very well suited for automation, which is something that Tesla wants to bring more and more into their production lines. And then once those individual pieces are done, it's brought together in the main production line and essentially bolted together, and very quickly you have a completed vehicle. And the process is not only new as far as the approach for building the vehicles, but it's also one that has the potential of greatly accelerating the pace of building cars. And ultimately, Tesla would like to be able to have a brand new Cybercab coming off the production line once every 6 seconds, which would be almost a tenfold increase over what we're seeing with state-of-the-art production capabilities of vehicles. So that's what's going on with the factory. And as far as the Cybercabs here, what we're seeing on the outside, and why I'm calling it the Cybercab Day, is that production has begun. Started up in April of 2026. It's ramping kind of slow at first, and there's a few reasons for that, but they are actually producing the Cybercabs. We're seeing them on the east side exiting the factory in more and more numbers. They are driving autonomously over to the west side outbound lot and end of line facility for final preparations for shipping. We are seeing them on transport trucks, and we're also seeing them arriving all over the country as continued testing and preparation of bringing those into the robotaxi fleet is underway right now. There's kind of two different versions of the Cybercab that people are seeing. One of them, the one that is most prominent right now, has what they call a steering wheel kit installed. It's a temporary kit. It is not meant for production. It's not meant for carrying passengers. Its purpose is really to allow for testing and training and just evaluating the Cybercabs, and also gaining more of the data in the real world for further training of the AI autonomous system for the Cybercabs. The other one is the actual production one, which has no steering wheel, no pedals, and it's designed for carrying passengers with the robotaxi fleet. And we're starting to see more of those right now. And I would expect throughout the rest of the year, we're going to see a lot more deployment of the final version for passengers out into the robotaxi fleet. And of course, between now and then, there's going to be more of the testing and training, and we'll also see more of that. As of just very recently, they have a new test track over at the southwest corner of the main facility. And on that track, we're starting to see Cybercabs being tested in a variety of different ways, whether they're going through lanes, they're going over rumble strips, they're going around kind of the center oval part of the track. But nevertheless, they are doing a lot of testing with that too. So we are seeing a lot of Cybercab activity around the site as they get ready to deploy them and to the robotaxi fleet, and also to increase the production rate.
The unbox process, combined with a vehicle that has no steering wheel or pedals, is such a radical departure. And seeing them already driving autonomously around the site is pretty mind-blowing. How are the new Cybercabs being integrated into the existing Model Y and Cybertruck production flow at the factory?
That's kind of a good question, because as we mentioned before, the purpose of Giga Texas has kind of changed over time, and the addition of the Cybercabs to Giga Texas was something that was kind of decided on a couple of years ago. And with that, they needed to make sure that they could configure the factory properly to be able to support where that was going to be, and the new unbox process that they're they're introducing within the production facility and the processes at Giga Texas. So Model Y was first, and that was the first one that was established, and it pretty much uses parts of the east side of the factory on the ground level for body and white, and then of course the paint shop, and then it moves over to the west side for the general assembly. When Cybertruck was added in, that one was using a lot of the center part of the factory and multiple floors on sort of the center and the west part of the factory. What we're seeing with the Cybercab is that they have added it into portions of the east side ground floor, and of course the second and third floors within that part of the site. To do that, they've had to add in, after the fact, some new floors into the building, and some of them are permanent floors and some of them are mezzanines, which could be eventually reconfigured later on if that was desired. But they've built in a lot of extra space within the factory using that empty box of Giga Texas that we talked about earlier when it was first built, and looking at how to best utilize the volumetric space that was available, and that's what they have done. And that kind of works seamlessly within the rest of the factory and the other production lines, because they're kind of separated into different parts of the factory. There is one thing that was shared between the Cybertrucks and the Model Ys early on, that was reconfigured and is now being shared between the Cybertrucks and the Cybercabs, and it allows the Model Ys to have their own process, and that is the e-coating system within the painting process. What that is, it basically takes the body in white and it does a corrosion control and a surface treatment to the metal before it is painted. And the Cybertrucks, at least the shell, the passenger shell, was being put through that process before they would finish the assembly and then put the stainless steel on. And by sharing between the Model Y and the Cybertruck, it was starting to impact to some degree the flexibility and the volume that they could build the Model Ys with. So they built a completely different e-coating system on a different part of the factory, closer to where the Cybercab production line is. And then they redirected the Cybertrucks into that because they're relatively smaller volume compared to what they're going to be using for the Cybercabs. And of course the Cybercabs are a smaller vehicle as well, and the e-coating is pretty much also just on that passenger shell, or at least portions of the passenger shell of the Cybercab. So by moving the Cybertruck and the Cybercabs together in the e-coating, that works out well, and it's very synergistic. And then of course the Model Ys could use the original e-coating in the paint shop and have a much higher volume for that vehicle, which has proved to be very popular, and they're making quite a bit of those.
It's fascinating how Tesla keeps reconfiguring the factory on the fly. The fact that they built a whole new e-coating line just to optimize flow shows how seriously they're taking the Cybercab ramp. The North Campus Optimus factory is one of the biggest stories right now. What's the current pace and scale of that build? And what does it tell us about Tesla's vision for humanoid robot production?
And this is going back to the North Campus, which is also the area where the Optimus factory is being built. And I call it the North Campus because that's what the permits have kind of labeled it as. And as suggested, it is more than just the Optimus factory. So there's going to be other support facilities that are going to be built up into that area. And we're starting to see a little bit of that going on right now. Most of what is being used is staging for a lot of the steel items that are necessary to build the Optimus factory. But because they're setting aside the land for that right now, it means that it will be well suited for additional construction sometime in the future to kind of use the full space of that North Campus. As far as the Optimus factory is concerned itself, its actual construction really began a little bit more than 3 months ago. That would have been early March of 2026. They began clearing some of the debris and the land and preparing the grade for footing construction, and that has been going on quite quickly throughout most of that part of the site. And they're also starting to do some of the land clearing to the south. As far as the speed of the manufacture, or the building of that manufacturing facility, I'd say it's going along as fast, if not faster, than the original Giga Texas factory construction. The basic approach that they're using is, of course, to get the land graded and supported using geopiers, which are a type of pier that's put into the ground to support the footings, which of course supports the entire structure. So that's been going on very quickly. On top of that, they've been doing the work to build the footings themselves. And then, of course, now that a large part of the footings are done, they're starting to assemble the steel. And that is pretty much mimicking what we saw with the main Giga Texas factory back when it was built. And they're going to kind of work from the center out to the north, the south, and then to the sides as they build out more of that facility. The pace that they're going on right now, I would say that maybe, I don't know, around early spring of next year, it'll be sufficiently completed that we'll start seeing some of the equipment being brought in to be set up for the production lines. We may see a little bit earlier than that. Tesla uses the agile project and construction process, which means that they don't wait until the entire structure is completed before they start moving in equipment and using portions of the facility while the rest of it's being built out. We saw that with Giga Texas main building, and we're seeing that with this. So it wouldn't surprise me if we start seeing maybe some equipment showing up later at the end of this year, but I would say pretty much spring of next year is when most of that's going to happen. Maybe by summer, the end of summer of next year, they'll start doing some initial production, maybe just testing production, small scale, and just making sure everything is working. Also, they need to make sure that the design of the V4 of the Optimus is ready for production. So there's going to be some give or take between engineering and the construction, and of course the people building the machines and installing them. So that's going to be going on probably spring or summer. And then I would say by the end of 27, we'll be ready to see that production sometime in 28, and then it will ramp up from there.
3 months in, and it's already moving fast. The idea that this one facility will be a huge percentage of the size of the main Giga Texas factory is wild. I've noticed a really interesting editing technique in several of your videos. Crossfades that hold the exact same camera position and framing, almost like a seamless time-lapse or progress dissolve. What's going on there technically, and what effect are you aiming for with viewers?
One of the things that I've tried to do for the construction of Giga Texas and try to give context and understanding about what is going on is periodically I'll do sort of like a time-lapse kind of approach to show the progress of various parts of the site. And with the constant coverage that at first the Quad Squad was doing, and now with what I'm doing, it can sometimes feel like things aren't progressing as fast as they actually are, because you see day to day and it's just incremental changes. So what I'll do is I will pick a time period, maybe 3 months or 6 months, or sometimes I do a year, and I will focus on certain aspects or parts of the site, and then I will show progression for maybe month to month of what is changing. And I think that's just a really good way of kind of helping to illustrate really the pace that's going on and the dramatic amount of change that is going on at any given site here at Giga Texas. I think the other thing that kind of makes it difficult for a lot of people to appreciate how fast things actually are changing is just the scope of what's going on here at Giga Texas. There is so much construction across so much of the site. Over 1,000 acres are currently under construction in one way or the other. And each of these facilities themselves could be a major project that people would want to focus on. And just adding them all together, it makes it really kind of a challenge to really appreciate the speed that is actually going on here at the site. And to me, the best way is to try to do those kind of longer time-lapse comparison shots to help really illustrate that in a more visual way.
That technique is so effective. It really helps people appreciate just how fast things are actually moving when the day-to-day changes feel small. Drone flying over an active industrial site comes with weather, regulatory, and safety challenges. How has your approach and equipment evolved since the early days?
That's a really great question about flying drones here and doing it over many years over an industrial site. And it's compounded because here at Giga Texas, they're very close to the Austin Bergstrom International Airport. So much so that it's under something called the Class C airspace of that airport. And because of that, it gives some challenges with the airspace and the altitudes that I can use, and also keeping track of the air traffic that actually does fly over Giga Texas periodically. So what has kind of, I don't know, I've come to do over the last few years. First, when I began, of course, we wanted to make sure we got a permission from Tesla to be able to fly, and we were able to do that. The process of getting airspace clearance has changed a little bit over that time. Originally, we could fly below about 200 feet AGL, and we could fly around the most of the site without having to get FAA clearance. However, as things continued to progress, FAA started to change some of their rules and regulations, and also it became pretty obvious that it would be really smart to be able to get clearance for the airspace. So that's something that I kind of evolved into. I got, of course, I'm a Part 107 certified drone pilot, and with that, I'm able to interface into the FAA system. And using a couple of different apps that I use, I'm able to request dates, times, altitudes, and kind of a geofence location around the site that allows me to work within the Class C airspace of the international airport and also within the industrial complex here at Giga, Texas. And I pretty much have to do that for every single flight, and I've been doing that for about 5 years now. So I've kind of got that system down. But it's a combination of getting permission from Tesla, the property owners, getting permission from the FAA for a geofenced location with dates, times, and altitudes. And then also another critical part is paying attention to the weather. Drones are just like any other aircraft. They are susceptible to what the environment is, facing. It puts out there with winds or temperatures, or lighting is another big thing as well. So I pay a lot of attention to the weather. I kind of plan out what I'm going to do with my profile on any given day. Generally speaking, the nicer the day, somewhere around 70, 80 degrees Fahrenheit with no winds is pretty much ideal. It gives maximum battery life because the drone isn't having to work as hard. But as the temperatures drop and as the winds increase, or if you have both low temperatures or even high temperatures and high winds, then the drone has to work a lot harder, and the batteries aren't as efficient, and it starts to affect the type of profile that I can do. So kind of having to take all of that into account. And of course, the last big part is this is an active construction site. As I mentioned earlier, there was a time where I called it the age of cranes, where there were a lot of different very tall cranes that are in different positions throughout the day, and they move faster than you may think. You also have people working on pretty large parts of the structure, and you have vehicles moving around, you have people all over the place, and you also have some fixed obstacles like the power lines. So trying to keep all of that into account, getting permission, getting the FAA clearance, watching the obstacles, monitoring the weather, and then on top of that, just trying to make the video look good by taking into account lighting conditions and lighting angles, shadows. It's it kind of all comes together as to what is required to fly a drone, certainly over Giga, Texas, but I think this pretty much applies at any site that you may be flying at. And I would just recommend for people who might want to do this is to learn a lot about the drones, get your licensing, understand the FAA, and do all the rest of the steps that I just talked about to make sure that you're as successful and as safe as possible.
The level of professionalism and preparation you bring to every flight is obvious. It's no wonder you've been able to do this safely for nearly 6 years. You've turned drone coverage of one of the world's largest construction projects into a full-time career. What have you learned about building trust and delivering consistent value when covering complex technical projects like this?
Yeah, this is actually really important to me, and I appreciate you asking about that. And when I first started, honestly, I didn't know anything about social media. I didn't know the rules that were involved. In fact, I didn't even know if I should monetize what I'm doing. I almost felt like I didn't want to, because for some reason I just felt that was, I don't know, maybe not something I should do. I didn't know if anybody would be all that interested, but it turned out I had a lot of viewers that suggested that I do that. And I also used a lot of their suggestions with comments to improve what I was trying to do with the videos. And I think if you look back at my early ones and then what I'm doing now, as you can see that there has been a lot of changes in approach, the way I try to get the shots, and the way I just try to put the content together. And all of that is just basically to try to make it as informative, put into context what we're seeing, and do it in a kind of both an educational and kind of a fun way to allow the audience to really have that interaction. Having the audience interaction with comments through Patreon, through subscriptions, through X, also with just viewer comments on YouTube and X, I think has been a big overall plus for me because you kind of get the audience as part of the activity, and they get a chance to interact with you. They ask for specific things, whether it's information or, hey, can you go fly over this area and get some views of this? I'm kind of interested in what is going on. I've also had a lot of technical experts that have become viewers of mine or supporters of mine over the years, and they will go through a lot of the photos and the videos and provide me a lot of really great insights, which I can then use on future videos to help refine what's going on. I think the secret, if you will, of trying to do a social media or YouTube channel is to be as consistent as you can, so the audience knows what to expect from you. Take that feedback and continue to upgrade or modify or change or iterate on what you're doing to keep it as fresh and pertinent as possible, especially in something as big as like Giga, Texas, where at first we started off just looking at dirt moving around, and now we're chasing down cybercabs as part of a larger AI program that is going on with multiple different facilities and a lot more information about a lot of different topics. So it's important to be able to kind of iterate and mature your program or your channel and the content that you're doing over time. The last thing that I've tried to do is just provide as much accurate information as I can in the context of what is going on. There's a lot of other channels that take information and they try to I don't know, provide suggestions of what the value is of what's going on, or how this could be used for, say, investments or a lot of other things. I don't really do that. I was sort of a conscious effort at first. I thought it would be better just to show what's actually going on and give the information that supports why certain things are being done. And I'll leave it up to the audience themselves to kind of draw their conclusions about what they're seeing. But ultimately, it seems like this approach has been very well received, and I hear that from a lot of people from all over the world. And it's people who are, just enthusiasts, or they're interested in technology, or a lot of people who are in the investments and they want to just see what's going on to back up with what they're being told. So it's just been pretty cool to see how all this thing has evolved. And despite the time commitment, I'm still enjoying it, and it's really opened up a lot of other opportunities to me, which I very much appreciate. And I think is part of why a lot of people are continuing to watch what I do, is that I'm trying to continue to evolve and do different subjects than just one. And I think that's been pretty successful, at least up until now.
That philosophy of show what's actually happening and let people draw their own conclusions is exactly why your channel feels so trustworthy. People really appreciate it. You also cover Starbase and are deeply interested in all things space. Are there interesting parallels or synergies you see between what's happening at Giga, Texas and what's happening at Starbase?
Kind of following along with what we were saying or talking about with the YouTube channel and how things have changed over time, one of the things that I really wanted to do all along is somehow get back into covering space topics. And that's something that when you're doing a YouTube channel can be sometimes difficult, is when you get onto one subject, it's you don't necessarily get rewarded by how YouTube handles different types of content. But I wanted to do that, and through what I was doing at Giga Texas, it gave me the opportunity to start covering more about what's going on at Starbase with SpaceX, particularly with the development of the Starship program, but also it's allowed me to expand out to many other space topics, which, as we talked about in my kind of introduction of myself, is my real background is in space technology and wanting to be an astronaut, and just having that history about what's going on with space is just something that I really enjoy. And getting a chance to go down to SpaceX at Starbase, which used to be Boca Chica, and watching the beginnings of what was going on with Starship back when Hopper was just learning how to fly, to more of the development of the launch site, the tents that they had as they were building out some of the production facilities, and then as that's grown into a outright factory by itself with Star Factory, the continued changes of the Mega Bays now into Giga Bay, and the maturation of the testing sites that they have at Optimus and at the launch site itself, and how it's just continuing to grow and become a much more important part of our space program has been just really, I don't know, it's been really fun for me. And I got a chance to link up with Ellie in space, and together we've been doing a lot of the live streamings of the launches. In fact, we've live streamed every one of the launches with, I think, one exception. And that's turned out to be a great collaboration that I've had, and I've enjoyed the opportunity to provide kind of my live commentary about what we're seeing, what is going on, and answer a lot of questions. And I think that has also turned out to be very, very well received. And to me, I really just enjoy that, and I hope to be continuing that as we get further into not only the development of Starship, but also a lot of the other space programs, including what's going on with NASA and the Artemis program. To me, this is an extremely exciting time to be alive and seeing all of this going on. It's almost like hearing all of the plans and dreams that we've heard about over the last several decades finally actually coming to pass with real hardware and real missions. And I mean, how can you not be excited about the future and what's going on, not only with space, but also looking at Tesla, what they're doing with AI and autonomous driving and everything else. It's just really, I don't know, just thrilling for me to be a part of this in this way, and being able to cover SpaceX is kind of a bonus to what I started with Tesla way back in 2020, watching dirt being moved around, which eventually would be a big factory up near Austin.
It's beautiful how your original passion for space has come full circle. Covering both Tesla and SpaceX from the same state must feel pretty special. Looking 3 to 5 years out, what excites you most about where Giga Texas and Tesla's Texas presence overall is headed?
Wow, looking 3 to 5 years out, that's in the pace that we're going right now with all of the developments and the news that we are hearing, everything from rocket launch systems to Artemis programs to AI to autonomous driving, robotaxis, new vehicles. There's so much that is going on. It's hard to imagine what 3 to 5 years are going to be like. I mean, we've been talking about, I've been doing Giga Texas for just about 6 years. And so 6 years ago, when they were starting construction of the factory, we had no idea of what was going to be added in and what we would be seeing in 2026. So looking 3 to 5 years out, we're talking 2030 to 2031. There is just so much to be excited about. And I think part of that, when it comes to Tesla or Giga Texas, is that many of the facilities that we see under construction right now here in 26 are going to be coming fully online within that window of time, 3 to 5 years. So, you know, we get a little bit of a glimpse of that future right now watching the construction, what is underway here. And also, if you go down to Starbase, it's the same thing with what they're doing with the Star Factory and all the rest of the infrastructure upgrades and the development of the Starship program. And one other thing that we really haven't touched on, but not too far from Giga, Texas, over in Bastrop, is where we're seeing more of the SpaceX story under construction right now, and that is where they're building more of the solar panel construction factory. They have the Starlink terrestrial part of that system factory that is being expanded right now, and they're adding a lot more capability. And they're also going to start building the satellites for the AI data centers there as well. That construction project is getting ready to come online. So, I think what I'm most excited about over that 3 to 5 year period is to see all of these things that are under construction or about to start construction right now coming into their own, and seeing all of the products that they will be making coming into the market, whether they're going to be better autonomous vehicles or the robotaxi fleet, or maybe, I'd like to maybe own an Optimus one day, and that it can only be possible with what we're seeing being built at Giga Texas right now. Of course, I really want to see what's going on with space. With my background of flying KC-135s and tankers, the whole idea of on-orbit refilling is near and dear to me, because it has a lot of parallels between what aero refueling did for our country and for our military to be able to force project around the world. On-orbit refilling is the same thing. Without that, any of our rocket systems, because of the nature of the gravity well that we're in and the energy that it takes just to get to low Earth orbit, pretty much we would be stuck with what the space shuttle was able to do. Just get to orbit, do some things close to the Earth, and that's about it. So the key is that on-orbit refilling. And once that comes online and they have enough of the infrastructure to be able to support that, which would be both on the ground with the commodities that need to be launched up to the depots and the tankers, and of course the managing of the operations of that. Once that is established, which could happen pretty well in the next 3 to 5 years, it will allow us to then extend our reach all the way to the moon, to the Mars, throughout the solar system, and to do a lot other things, a lot new businesses or opportunities, such as within different orbital planes around the Earth, whether that would be manufacturing, or maybe it would be salvage of older equipment that is in graveyard orbits around the Earth. All of that is impossible without the necessity of having that on-orbit refilling system. So all of this is what I'm excited about coming up into the future. And as I mentioned, we're seeing a lot of that being put into place right now. And how exciting is that to be able to see what they're building now come into fruition in just 3 to 5 years.
On-orbit refueling is such a game changer. The fact that we're watching the infrastructure for that being built right now is incredibly exciting. What's something nobody ever asks about, but you are extremely proud of?
All right, I think that's a really great question, and I appreciate being asked about that. I think one of the things that I'm extremely proud of, and not too many people ask, is this relationship that over 6 years of covering a construction site has given me with not only Tesla and a lot of the people that work there. It's just been amazing to me, the reception that I've gotten and the number of people that follow what I'm doing, even though that they're working for the actual company, plus a lot of other great people that work there that have invited me to many of the functions. They've done incredible things like put my name on the top of a flagpole at Giga Texas. I mean, what other company would do anything like that? But it's just been this amazing, remarkable relationship that has grown up that it really means a lot to me, and something that I'm very proud of. The other aspect of that is the number of people that I've had a chance to meet from literally all over the world because of me flying a drone over a construction site here near Austin, Texas. The people that I meet are so genuine, they're excited, they're enthusiastic about the future. They're just very knowledgeable about what's going on. They ask really great questions, and it's just a great community to be a part of. And for me to be even a small part of that community means the world to me. And I just got back from a trip to Europe, and that was all made possible because of my videos. People that I've met along the last few years who are from Europe invited me over. They showed me around multiple different countries. I got a chance to go to a Tesla takeover event and talk to a very large crowd about the future and what's going on with Giga Texas, and just enjoy being with everybody. That is just, I don't know, probably the best part of what I've been doing, and something that just means a lot to me. And I just never imagined that something like this would happen when I first started doing the video, and I couldn't be more happy of how it's worked out.
That relationship and the community you've built are genuinely special, Joe. It's not something you can manufacture. It comes from years of consistent, respectful work. I'm really glad you shared that.
Well, thanks a lot, Brad. That was a lot of questions, probably a lot of detail, a lot more information maybe than you were hoping for. But there is so much going on, and I've been fortunate to be able to see some of it and be able to help people put into context what is going on. And I just really appreciate you having me on. And again, you are an inspiration to me and a lot of other people out there. Just amazing what your experience with using another product that comes from the Elon Musk economy, the Neuralink, has done. And it's kind of opened up a bigger world for you and many other people just like you. And we didn't really touch much on Neuralink, but that is one more thing that I'm really excited about for the future. And my hat's off to you. You're just doing an amazing job. And I really appreciate you having me on. So thank you very much.
Joe, thank you so much for your time and flexibility. This has been an absolute masterclass in what's actually happening at Giga Texas and why it matters. Your perspective, your footage, and your genuine passion for the technology and the people behind it have been fantastic. If you enjoyed this conversation, please follow me on X and like and subscribe to my YouTube channel at ALS Cyborg. For more support, you can subscribe on X for $5 a month or send a donation to Venmo at ALS Cyborg. You can also join on YouTube for $5 or $3 a month. Joe, thank you again. This was a real pleasure.